Okay. Uh, we're just so happy Joni M. Fisher can be with us today. After decades in journalism, she turned to crime. Her Compass Crime series has been recognized in the U.S. Review and Publishers Weekly. Her books have won awards in the Kindle Book Awards, Reader's Favorite Book Awards, Christian Indie Book Awards, Next Generation Indie Book Awards, and others. She served on the Arts and Humanities Advisory Board for Southern University and is an active member of the American Christian Fiction Writers and the Florida Writers Association. As an instrument-rated private pilot, she reports for General Aviation News. And for more information, you can go to her website, www.jonifisher.com. So we're so happy you can be here, Joni. I found your information on the FWA Speakers Bureau, and I'm so happy that you could join us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let me pull up my screen here. So did everyone get the handout?
Yes.
There was, okay. And all right, can you see the screen? All right, are you able to see the screen? Hang on, can you see the screen?
No.
Oh,
Lee, have you given her permission for screen sharing? Yeah.
okay. All right, let me see where it is here.
There we are.
All right, so is it big or is it just a little teeny thing for you guys? Can you see it?
Big.
Yes, it's big.
Okay, all right. So you can see it and I can't. Let me try something here.
It's fine, Joni.
It covers the screen, so you won't, like, if you have people raise hands if they have a question, you might not see everybody. But it covers the whole screen, your presentation.
Okay.
Joni, I might also add that you can't do anything on the screen that we see. We'll see it, but you need to go to the original document on your device and navigate from there.
All right. So can you see it? You still see it?
Yes.
All right. Fantastic. All right. So I first started writing for magazines and newspapers and getting money for writing when I was 16. So I've been doing this a very long time. I'm 67 now. So I helped put my husband through medical school in my writing, and I've done journalism, nonfiction, technical writing, and novels. But today we're going to talk about writing for magazines or paid blogs, which is a way to make money with your essays or your articles. So anyone who doesn't have the handout, you can go write down this URL or use your phone and sign in to get a copy. I can show this again at the end if anyone still needs it, because it's a pretty extensive handout. You can share it with anyone else in your group, because even if they couldn't come to this, there's a lot of really good information in there. Okay, so we're going to go over some terminology first, because if you're going to sell your stuff, you need to know what the terminology is for these types of articles or blogs. You need to know how to find your niche or your area of not just expertise, but your area of interest, your point of view, how to do research, and the real power of making money from reprints or syndication. So do I have any journalists in this group? Okay, Denise. All right. So what I'm talking about is a combination of magazines and paid blogs, because a lot of people aren't subscribing to magazines anymore. They're subscribing to YouTube channels or other special interest groups. So you can write a lot of different kinds of things for these groups and make money from them. So the first type of article or blog is called a first person. Basically, it's your point of view is very important. A strong narrative voice is vital for it. And if you have a specific skill, talent, hobby, something that sets you apart from other people, then you want to emphasize that and use that. You also write from memory. Sometimes it may be an article about you've lost a beloved teacher and you have ideas about them and how much they contributed to your life and what you wish you could have told them, that sort of thing. So a lot of first person stories, you don't have to be an expert in that topic. For example, if you have a really strong voice or a strong point of view, you might be asked to write about it just for that alone. For example, how many of you have read Dave Barry, the humorist out of Miami Herald? Okay, they sent him to the Olympics one year to report on it. He has no idea what he was doing. And it was hilarious because he was covering the sport of curling, which is a very unusual sport. I think there are only 400 people in the whole world that even do this thing. So here he's trying to be the reporter on the scene and describe what's happening. And it just turned out hilarious. So you're a strong point of view, whether it's humorous or snarky or just like a millennial point of view or the curmudgeon's point of view, that can really set the tone for your articles.
Potatoes are they a vegetable?
So another type of article or blog would be essay or opinion. Now, this is slightly different in that you're not necessarily talking about your experience or your point of view as much as you are presenting a topic. And it needs a very tight focus. Essays and opinion pieces tend to be persuasive. You're trying to sell somebody on the idea that what you believe or what you've seen or learned is correct or has meaning. And it invites debates or discussion. Now, the easiest thing to do on essay opinion pieces these days is politics, because it generates so much feedback, but a lot of it's negative and unproductive. So find something that you have a strong opinion about and think about how you form that opinion. What caused that? For example, I published an article on teaching my child to be a rebel, which parenting magazines kind of said, what? Why would you do that? But then when they read the article, they go, oh yeah, okay, now I get it. The focus was really on asserting individuality over the herd mentality, because kids are followers these days, particularly when they're locked into social media. So I wanted to teach my daughter and now my grandchild how to be an individual and to stand up for yourself. It's okay to be different. That difference is what makes you special and amazing, and not to hide that so that you can fit in with everything. And I think kids need that more and more. So an essay piece or an opinion piece, those don't sell quite as well unless you are very persuasive or you have seen a lot. If you're a lawyer and you've seen a lot of cases where people have let their kids go crazy, then that would be an essay or opinion piece. Let's look at another kind, the informational articles. We've all seen those. Those have the catchy headlines of, 5 things to pack for your vacation, or 7 things not to say to TSA while you're going through security check. And it usually starts with a number or things I wish I knew, sort of catchy titles like that. But these are very straightforward, newsy articles.
Joni,
Yes.
the only thing we're seeing is the first thing you put up, writing for magazines or paid blogs. We're not seeing anything else.
Oh, it's not moving forward. Okay. All right, let me try this. All right, let me unshare that for a moment.
Joni, I think you need to just move the PowerPoint to the next screen from your desktop, and then it'll reflect on the Zoom.
Okay, I have been forwarding it, but apparently it's not forwarding it to you guys. So let me get out of that one. And out of, oops. Okay. Let me get out of this one. All right, let me screen share again. All right, can you see it now?
No, we're not seeing the screen share.
Okay.
Lee, you started the Zoom, right?
Yes.
So if Joni wanted to, she could forward the PowerPoint to you, and then you could screen share it, and she could just let you know when to advance the PowerPoint.
Well, let me see if I can get this to share. Is it showing now?
No. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, now it's showing.
Okay.
We're just
Okay.
seeing the first slide that you showed,
Okay.
writing for magazines.
Did it go to the second?
Now we see notes.
Okay, good. All right. So we're going through the types of articles or blogs, and all of this is in your handout as well. We talked about first-person articles, essays and opinion, informational articles. These are pretty much the straight news articles that you see the most of in most blogs. And then you have service piece. Now, a service piece can be really fun. Let's say you, I did a service piece once because I was choosing a new car. And as a pilot, women get treated differently at car places than men do. And I had this guy talking down to me the whole time, pointing out the mirror in the, the mirror, the ashtray, all these things that I really didn't care about, the cup holder where I could put my purse. And it really kind of ticked me off. So I did an article about comparing the vehicle that I would like to drive compared to the ones that I could afford. And the article turned out to be about comparing family van with the space shuttle. And in order to get the mileage for the space shuttle, I had to talk to experts over at Jet Propulsion Lab and find out how many miles they get on a fill up, which was kind of impossible because they don't want people to know how expensive that fuel is. So I said, I just need a number. If you were going to take the space shuttle up and go around as often as you could and then come back, how many miles would you get per gallon, essentially, of the rocket fuel? So the geniuses put together a formula and they figured it out and they gave me a number. And it was actually cheaper to run the space shuttle than the family van because you can go thousands of miles once you get the space shuttle up in space to go around. It basically goes around by gravity. But it was a fun article to write, and it kind of helped me get rid of those feelings of being talked down to. So it was also nominated for a humor award. So if you're going to do a service piece, find out what the problem is, what the consumer really wants to know. How hard is it to choose between A and B, and what are all the choices? I just signed up for Medicare not too long ago, and oh my gosh, that process is painful. I would rather have dental work than have to choose all the different plans for Medicare because it's so complex. So a service piece helps people untangle complex or unusual things that they have to do. And if you can, like gimmicks over value, that's really common, particularly with weight loss things or beauty products. So those are the kind of things that people look for to just get information from. And you would go to other experts or advertisers to find that information. Like if you were going to write for a major magazine, the first thing you would want to do is find out who their advertisers are. Because if you're going to quote an expert, quote one of theirs. It'll sell better. They'll be willing to talk to you because you're writing for a magazine they advertise for. These are their people. So make sure that you're not quoting an outside expert if they are advertising with this other group. It just makes sense. So that's just a tip that I learned the hard way. So how-to articles. Now with a how-to article, you have to start out with the problem. What is the problem? The problem may be you need to get a new cell phone. There are so many features. They're so expensive. What do you really need? So if you're going to demystify that process for somebody, you want to walk through it yourself and completely understand it. And you want to make your step-by-step instructions very easy to understand. Now, it's not that people are stupid, it's that people are unfamiliar. And that's the difference. I don't care if you were a nuclear engineer, you're still going to have a little challenge learning all the features in your new cell phone. Just because they're always changing, they're always updating, and when they update, they move things around. So when updates happen, how many of you go to YouTube videos and say, hey, how do I do this? How do I find? That's what how-to articles do. And if you're really good at demystifying things, or you've been through something that you thought was really painful and shouldn't have been that hard, and there isn't already a how-to out there, make that how-to. People will appreciate it. Get it out there. But how-tos are basically troubleshooting. Profiles. Now, this is where most of my stuff comes from. Even as an aviation writer, I do profiles. I write about famous pilots, famous airplane owners, people who have rebuilt vintage aircraft, people who have flown amazing flights. How many of you have watched Airplane Repo? I think it was on the Discovery Channel. It's about these guys who are just like the regular repo guys. They go in and they repossess something when the loan hasn't been paid or whatever. Well, there's a special group of people that do that for airplanes. And they go all over the world and they steal airplanes back because the person has either hidden it or stolen it originally, or they're not paying the note on it. So these guys are pretty interesting because they get shot at, they get arrested, you know, they put up with a lot. And there was one guy named Kevin Lacey. Basically, he stole airplanes for a living. And when I ran into him, he had just started a teen flying club. So my first sentence is, you know, a man who steals airplanes for a living just started a teen flying club. So my expertise is in doing these profiles on people and making them look human and what makes them tick, and getting into their heads a little bit and figuring out why they do what they do. It takes a little more research. It does take interviews. When I'm interviewing somebody, I always record it and I ask for permission to record it because the way they express themselves is very important, particularly if English is a second language or if they have a regional dialect, like Kevin Lacey had a very strong West Texas dialogue, an accent. So you don't want to clean up somebody's dialogue and make it grammatically perfect because it won't sound like them. Use the words they use, the syntax, the word choice. All of that really personalizes that people who know that person will go, oh yeah, that's him. So you don't want to clean them up too much. You want to show them exactly as they are. And he was a very funny guy, so the article is really funny too, because he gave me a lot of really great quotes. A think piece. Now, these are a little more investigative. They cover trends. They warn about trends. They're a tightly focused topic. For example, if you lived in Texas and you saw an entire town being built that was exclusively Muslim and no one else was allowed to live there and they wanted to set up Sharia law, that would be a think piece that would basically expose why you're upset, what's going on, and you would want all the details. You know, how big this is, why aren't they allowing other people in? Is that legal? You know, you would cover all those things and bring it up to the attention of the public that, hey, by the way, did you know? So a think piece takes a very topical issue and dives deep into it. So with these different types of articles, the most important thing is to find your niche, your voice. Find out the kind of things that you can do better than anyone else. And it's not as hard as you'd think. So in the handouts on page 10, there is a massive list of subject matter that you can write about. And basically the subject matter comes from the first part of the Writer's Digest guide on how to, it's basically this, see if I have one here. Nope, I gave it away. There's a listing of all magazines that's put out by Writer's Digest Press, I believe. And it has a listing for every paid blog and magazine out there. And it lists them alphabetically by topic, like what they specialize in. So there would be aviation, there would be travel, all these other things. So do you have that list with you? Raise your hand if you have the list in front of you. Okay. I have a copy here. Okay, all right. So it's a very extensive list, but what I urge you to do is to go through the list and circle or highlight every single topic in here that you really like to know more about, that you already know quite a bit about, that you do as a hobby, or that just captures your interest in some way, that you wouldn't mind writing about this a lot because you really enjoy it. I'll give you a handful of examples. Advertising, marketing, and PR, animals, architecture, art, design, collectibles, automotive and motorcycle, aviation and space, beauty and salon. It's a really long list. But what you do is you go through each one of those and you say, do I know anything about photography? Do I know anything about plumbing, heating, and air conditioning? Do I know anything about psychology and self-improvement, real estate, whatever? Go through the whole list, click off all those things that you wouldn't mind writing about, that you find pretty interesting. And then let's take a look at the things that sell the best. Okay, so these are the best paying topics. Now, if you didn't circle one of these on that list, that doesn't mean you can't write about them. So, see, mine was aviation. That's not on this list. Travel is. I could write about fun places to fly in a small aircraft. But I chose profiles and true life features. And I meet a lot of interesting, amazing pilots, people that build aircraft, people that refurbish, people that do engine work, all kinds of stuff. As long as it's related to aviation, I take my niche topics, things that I really love to write about, and I find tie-ins to the most profitable topics. See how that works? So let me give you some examples. Okay, I have an example later on where I show how I've added some more of those things together, and mine was on profiles and true life features. But basically, by you combining the things you already really love to write about or would like to write about with these profitable topics, you're more likely to sell them. So to find your niche, you have to ask yourself, if I was going to do this for the next 5 years, what could I do without getting completely bored? What could I do with these things that would be interesting for me as a human being, that I would have fun doing? Because when you're having fun, you honestly, that fun role picks up by the reader. They see when you're having a good time. So how do you do the research to write these articles? There are certain things you want to do. You want to kind of immerse yourself in the topic. If you're already an expert in the topic, you've got that covered. Move on to the interviews and the field work and the reasoning. But if you're fairly new to the topic, it's just something that excites you and you want to learn more about, immerse yourself in it. Read everything you can find about it. Join groups that spend a lot of time doing that thing. And then when you find a topic that you really want to write about, go interview some experts. Go interview people that are doing that thing, whether it's just a career thing or an area of expertise. And then do field work. Now, field work for me is going to air shows, hanging out at airports. When I meet somebody that has an interesting airplane, I go introduce myself and I take pictures and I talk to them and I say, hey, can I reach back? Here's my phone number. Can I have your phone number? I'd like to interview you, about your wild paint scheme on your plane or whatever it is. I saw a huge airplane. This is like a $500,000 jet, and it was painted like a zebra. And I had to ask the pilot, what's going on with this? And he told me that I asked if he was with Siegfried and Roy, and he said, no, it's just my wife really liked the pattern. It's like, okay. So it wasn't much of a story there, but I just had to find out because it was interesting. So you run into more things when you're out there in the field with the people that do the things that you're writing about. And then go to reasoning. Reasoning is where you look through all the other things that relate to that and how you can tie that in with our more profitable topics that we talked about before, the most profitable topics, because that's how you can best sell it for the highest dollar. And and we'll talk about reprints later, but if you're going to do reprints, you want to sell to the highest buyer first. And if they refuse it, then go to the next. You don't want to start out in the mid-range because that'll hurt you later on when you do reprints. So the research is really a 4-phase thing. And I also can give you some more information on my website about how to do research, how to conduct an interview, how to do field work. So if you have any interest in that, go to my website and it will elaborate on how to do those other steps in more detail. Like, particularly if you're doing interviews, you have to ask permission before you record, because in some states it's illegal to record someone without their consent. Okay, so the thing that really makes money is when you can do reprint or resell an article. So if you're writing an article for, like I write for General Aviation News, and they own the rights to what I write, and that's why they pay me more. But they have a deal with me where after 60 days, I can write about that topic in another way, like on my website or somewhere else. So we have a pretty good arrangement. I can reprint the articles that I write for them on my website as long as I give attribution saying this originally appeared in General Aviation News. So if you're going to write something, you want to be able to sell it more than once, because it's a lot of work. Unless you're making $1 an hour, you really can make a ton of money through reprints by selling the same article again and again and again. And it's not word for word the same each time, but I'll give you an example of how I took a 1,000-word article and got $2.50 a word out of it. So reprints are very powerful. It's a great way to make money. I did a lot of freelance work where I wrote for magazines before I got hired for one magazine. And what I would do is I would write about a topic for one magazine and then wait until the rights reverted back to me after 60 days or after publication or whatever it was. And while I'm waiting for those rights to revert back, I'm pitching the article to another magazine or another blog or another place. So the difference between magazines and blogs are magazines used to be, once it's printed, it's done. But now even magazines are keeping online back issues. So it's never really out of print. So you have to ask, do the rights revert back to me even though you have it listed on your website? Because who's going to pay you for something that they can get somewhere else for free? So reprints are really important. If you're writing blogs, there's an argument to be made that if it's out on the internet, it's permanent and you can't get it back. Who's going to pay for it? So be very careful if you're paying for a blog. If you're getting paid by a blog, find out what your rights are. Can you write about that topic or that information again to a different place? Or if not, if they're buying all rights, then make sure they're paying you really well, because it'll be out there forever. And you won't get paid for it like royalties in movies or songs or other things where you get paid every time it appears. With blogs, once it's out there, that's it. It's there for good. And keep track of when the rights revert back to you. This is really important so that you can pitch it again and again if you're writing for magazines in particular. And you need to adapt the article for specific readership. I'll show in the next examples how I change the articles to suit the different readership. And then once you have something out there, you want to put out Google alerts. Like I had an essay I wrote out there, and then I put the name of the essay on Google Alert, and I could tell when somebody else was using it without permission. And I would call them out, and then they'd have to pay me. So you can also put your name out there, find out what's being said about you or what's being written about you, how your name is being used in vain or whatever. So let's look at an example of reprints and what that means. So the first, AOPA magazine is Airplane Owners and Pilots Association. It has a 500,000 member readership. So it's very large magazine, large circulation magazine. It's the go-to magazine for general aviation. And as one of the few, there are 8 women reporters for magazines who are women that write for aviation. So there are only 8 of us. So it's kind of unique that we have that position, that voice. So for the first one, the highest paying one I wrote was for AOPA, and it was about how husbands and wives share the cockpit, which is a weird dynamic because mistakes can get you killed. There was a commercial flight actually out of Miami where the pilot and the co-pilot were fighting over control of the aircraft, and they ended up running right into another aircraft, and all the passengers died. So in situations like that, are you really comfortable sharing power and authority with the other person in the plane? And there's just a weird dynamic there. Like, my husband had more experience than I did, so he was basically treating me like a voice-activated autopilot. He would say, do this, do that, do that. And I'd say, stop. I have to know how to do this myself, and I have to look for the signs of when things are going off, and I need to recognize those. If you always tell me them, then when I'm by myself in the aircraft, I won't recognize them. And he finally learned that I really meant it. So it was a funny article, actually, because we had done some things that were kind of dumb and awkward in the aircraft. Mistakes we made as pilot and co-pilot because we were treating each other like husband and wife instead of pilot and co-pilot. So the article was reprinted again in Christianity Today as The Plain Truth. And they asked me to rewrite parts of it to tamp down the aviation speak. So I explained the terminology that I was using, which made the article a little bit longer, but I made it approachable for people who don't fly, so they could read it and understand what was going on. So I got paid the first time full fee. And when it was reprinted, normally you get half the fee of the previous publication. But Christianity Today paid me full fee because I had changed the tone of it, added some information, and made it more approachable for their readership. So they gave me a full value for it as well, which was really nice. So fast forward about a year, I'm at a meeting and I run into this guy who runs the flying physician group. And he said, I can't believe you husband and wife are flying together. How cool is that? Could you write an article about it? I said, well, I already have. And he said, okay, can we reprint it? I said, sure, because I had the rights back. So in this one, it was called Couple Sharing the Cockpit, Factor Friction. And I emphasized on more of what was happening as a couple in the plane and what made it work, why a lot of wives don't fly with their husbands. And that was eye-opening for them. And then years later, Carolina Aviator magazine was starting up and they wanted to reprint the article. So I got paid for it again. Skirt magazine, which is about women, they were writing about women that do unusual hobbies or have unusual careers. And they had read one of my articles and they loved it. They thought it was funny. And they said, can you write the article in a way that talks about how you overcame your fear? So there was a lot of the same stuff in the other articles that I drew into this article, but this was more about how learning to fly was empowering for me as a woman and the mistakes I made, the fun I had, and how much it changed my life. So after selling it all those different times with slightly different readership, it ended at that 1,000-word article. I got $2.50 a word, which is not bad because, I didn't have to do much rewriting for the rest of it. So, how are we doing on time?
We're
Okay.
fine. It's only almost 11 o'clock.
Okay, all right. So, let me open it up for questions. And what would you like to know? What can I help you with?
Remember, you have to unmute if you're going to ask a question.
Yep.
If you want to stop screen sharing, then you can see everybody.
Ah, there we go. Okay, and I didn't mention syndication, but let's say you would like to write an essay about fun things to do with my grandkids or sights to see in Florida, something like that. I had a friend who had a parenting column in the Winter Haven News Chief, and it was funny. It was insightful. She was basically fighting the rest of the world for time with her kids, just to have dinner together every night without eating takeout all the time. And it was a really funny series. She did it for about 3 years. And after the first year, she said, this really isn't worth it for $20 a week. And I said, well, why aren't you syndicated? And she goes, I don't even know what that is. I said, well, when you're syndicated, like Dave Barry, your article isn't just appearing in one newspaper, it's appearing in newspapers all over the country. And the reason newspapers work so well for that is because there's not a lot of overlapping readership. I mean, people that are reading the Tampa Tribune are probably not reading the Miami Herald and are probably not reading the Jacksonville paper or the Kansas City paper. So what you do is you sign up as a syndicate and you offer your essays, your weekly essays of 800 words to 1,000 words, 800 is the most popular, on your funny topic. You show them, hey, here are 6 months of them that I've done, and would you be interested? If they take it, then you could be making a lot more money. It may only be $20 per newspaper, but if you've got 50 newspapers picking it up, you're writing 800 words a week and getting $20 a week from every newspaper that publishes it. This is very powerful. That's a lot of money. So syndication is a wonderful option for the mid-sized newspaper. And for Dave Barry, that's how he made his money. Because the Miami Herald, he would write about life in Miami, but it was so funny. The Denver News picked it up, the LA Times. I mean, all these other magazines that don't have the same readership as the Miami Herald were picking it up because he was just stinking funny.
So Joni,
Yes.
hi, I'm Susan. Is syndication difficult to get involved in?
No, it's not. It's a little bit of paperwork and probably about $300 to register your name. It's sort of like an LLC, a little bit of paperwork and you're done.
And what about the future of magazines over podcasts or blogs?
Magazines are still being written, and I think it's newspapers that are having
Oh, that's what I meant to say. Yeah,
a lot of newspapers are dying out because advertisers can't compete with the immediacy of, everything that people can get on the internet.
Right.
But let's say you have an area of expertise, I don't know, crocheting, and there's a set group of people that love to crochet, and you have expertise about how to do this, and you want to set up teaching guides, or you want to set up patterns that you do. That would be something that you are an expert in. It already has a set readership, people that are involved in that. You could go to is there an organization of people that do this? Is there a professional organization for this? Is there a user group that does this? And see if they have, or an association, organization, and do they have a newsletter that you could write for, and would they pay you? Because if it's something where people have to pay membership dues, they have some money. and they may be able to pay you to write every month in their newspaper. I know a guy who he rebuilds aircraft. So for him, he's in motor magazines because car engines are a lot like airplane engines, small airplane engines. So when he talks about how to set the timing on something or how to do this, that has a wider audience than just airplanes. So he can sell his blogs and his articles and his tutorials. He does YouTube as well, to some of these motorhead people in addition to aviation people. And there are airboats that have similar engines. So there's, you can just look for other applications of where you can sell your expertise. And would you be interested in this? Basically you write a query letter and you send it off and you pitch them. And if you have examples that you've already done that have been published somewhere, then that's called a clip. And you would forward those with your pitch.
Hey, thank you.
Tony, is the things you've been talking about, can they be applied to fiction work?
I'm not sure. Short stories don't really sell as well as articles. I mean, there are a lot of short story contests and stuff out there. They just don't pay as well as magazines and blogs. If you were going to, I know there is one for science fiction. There's a magazine for science fiction, but it's like there's only one, Same as gaming. There may be 2 or 3 gaming magazines out there. It depends on what you're writing about. Honestly, there was a fad 2 years ago where people were submitting short stories to catalogs. Like Eddie Bauer would have a story at the beginning of its magazine, beginning of its catalog, about somebody who took a wilderness trip and had an encounter with a bear. You got to look for who would be interested, where your readership is. And Eddie Bauer sells a lot of outdoor gear. So an outdoor story, a wilderness encounter, that was a natural thing for them. I don't know that they're still doing it, but if you look for where the readers are that would have that interest, where are they paying for that information? And that's who you want to sell to. Short stories, I'm not sure. There's not a big market for short stories. The contest's about the only way I really know of to make money at it, or getting into a collection. But I think short stories are hard to write. But see, I have a journalism background. So for me, the hard thing about switching from nonfiction to fiction was point of view. Because I was used to having point of view beaten out of me by editors. It's like, we don't want your opinion, stick to the facts. Quote the expert. But then when I had to find my voice, and to do that, I started writing a lifestyle column in a Tampa paper. And I found out that my voice was kind of snarky, and that I would tend toward humor, and that just by telling the plain facts about something was falling down funny. Like when my daughter joined cheerleading in high school. Competitive cheerleading is expensive, noisy. You get glitter everywhere. And my daughter was really into this. And it was traveling every weekend, doing all this stuff. And then I got approached by one of the mothers, and she goes, "Would you like to join our cheerleading group?" And I said, "What are you talking about? Our kids are all together. What do you mean?" She goes, "No, the moms have their own group." You're kidding me, right? She said, no, because they had all been cheerleaders in high school, and they had their own cheerleading group. And I said, okay, I got to see what this is about. I mean, I was 40 at that point. Okay, most of the mothers were younger than me, and I said, I really have to find out what this is about, because this is just too funny. And what they did is they would get together and they would do a cheer to the same music that the team was doing that year. Of course, the girls are doing round off back handsprings and flips and all that, and we're doing a lift and a split and a cartwheel. We're doing much easier stuff, but we would do basically our own routine. And it happened. We did it. we performed our cheer the night before the girls did their cheer at state finals. They won. We came out with a broken ankle, but we still had a lot of fun. So I wrote about it in that column, and I called it Cheer Mom, because I couldn't believe it was just so weird a story. I had to write about it. I mean, because who would believe a 40-year-old would join a cheerleading squad, for crying out loud? But it was funny because I just told it exactly the way it was. And the older I get, the less of a filter I have. So, I just really don't care as much what people think, and I'm not worried about what people think of me as I used to be. So I think losing that filter makes things funnier. Oh, and this lady that did the syndication of the family column, after she'd done it for about 2 or 3 years, she goes, I'm kind of bored. I've made a bunch of money. I don't really want to do this anymore. And she said, so I guess I'm done. And I said, well, why don't you put them all in a book? And she goes, who would buy that? And I go, who are reading the essays? And she goes, okay. So she published it as a couple books, and she had a blast and made some more money, and like, okay. How many of you do you all do nonfiction or fiction? How many do fiction? Raise a hand.
Right, poetry. So.
Okay. Have you done NaNoWriMo? I don't think they're still doing it, but basically you take the month of November and you write 50,000 words. If you can write 2,000 words a day on any topic at all, then you have basically 50,000 words at the end of the month. You've got the basis of a novel. Well, the way most people start out is they write their memoir. They write about themselves because, by golly, you're the content expert of your own life. And you can think about all those things in your life that were weird or funny or life-changing, heartbreaking, all these things. And just how can you not write 50,000 words about your own life, particularly if you're, over 12? So that's a great way to get started, is to find out what your voice is like, who you are, the topics that interest you, the life experiences you've had. I did that for NaNoWriMo one year, and I have been pulling essays out of that for years. Little incidents, weird things like Cheer Mom, or learning to fly. And one of my friends was also learning to fly at the same time. And he was kind of a sloppy pilot. He didn't really do a nice, neat pre-flight, and safety was like something other people had to do. So every time there was a crash, I would call him, because I thought for sure, that's him putting a plane down on the highway. And you never know what kind of things you're going to be able to make an essay out of or a story out of, just from your own life, because you've been through some things. You've lived through war. You've lived through death of a loved one. You've lived through having kids, having grandkids. You can use those life experiences and mine that for your essays. Compare, today's kid, you can't just let them wander out. I mean, I remember when I was a kid in the summer, Mom would open the door and say, come back when the street lights are on, or if you have to use the bathroom, and we'd be gone all day. She didn't know where we were. We didn't have cell phones. We're just gone all day exploring the world. And we would come back when we were hungry or needed the bathroom, but really we were on our own. If you did that today, the parents would have a heart attack. Oh my gosh, my kid's been kidnapped. I can't find them. They have their tracker off on their phone. So I think there's a lot that we can write about because we have been alive and on the planet for a while, that might be of interest to younger people to see the difference between then and now. I mean, I can't find a teenager that doesn't have a cell phone with them all the time. And you punish a kid by taking away their cell phone. It's like, oh, the world is ending. I can't talk to my people. Well, I never grew up with a cell phone because we didn't have them. Ours was on the wall. You had to wait. If you were waiting for a call, you were waiting by the wall. And privacy meant a really long cord. So those are things that you can write about that I think would be very interesting and illuminating to contrast with what people are doing today, or the difference between my life and my grandkids' life. I have a friend I went to college with, and he wrote about high school life, and the difference between his experience in high school and the experience of a group of 6 kids in high school. And I think this was in the 90s that he did this. And he asked permission from the parents to shadow these 6 kids for an entire year. And basically, after about 2 months, they treated him like one of their own. They kind of forgot he was there. They would talk openly about everything. And he ended up publishing those as series of essays over 2 years. He won a Pulitzer because he exposed the kinds of things that teenagers of that generation were afraid of are completely different from what he was concerned about as a high school kid. As a high school kid, he was afraid of getting in a fight. He wasn't afraid of having somebody come in with a gun and kill everybody. I mean, we had tornado drills when I was a kid. We didn't have armed shooter drills. So I think if someone did that again, they would again, get a Pulitzer for the difference between what it was and now and what has changed. And it's a way to examine life that may open eyes for younger readers who weren't around during the Vietnam War, during 9/11. I mean, if you look back at the things that happened 18 years ago, everything that happened 18 years ago or earlier is ancient history to modern kids.
It's true.
It's abstract. They can't imagine. Oh, there's always been man on the moon, big deal. We do launches every week now. So, that may be a source of information that you could draw on for essays if you wanted to, because we've been around a little bit longer than, other people. We have more life experiences and very diverse experiences. So just some suggestions. Yes.
So how do you find the newspaper or magazine that might fit that? Because I had to move some of I'm writing a memoir, and I had to move some of that out because it was too much background. But growing up in the 50s in Cambridge, Massachusetts, it's very interesting. Took in some of the things you were talking about. We could just do whatever. And it was very interesting to be in Cambridge, in a city with red brick sidewalks and all of that. So, I want to find a publisher, a magazine actually, that might want that. How do I go about that?
What magazines would cover life in Cambridge?
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is the Boston Globe, and maybe there's a magazine section of the Boston Globe.
Do they have a lifestyle magazine that's separate from the newspaper?
Probably they do. Yeah.
I would pitch them.
Yeah.
A lifestyle magazine would be a nice readership.
Mm-hmm.
And say, hey, here are a series of essays I have. Would you be interested in a weekly blog or a weekly article from me on the difference between then and now, or what it was like growing up then?
Yeah, I don't have a series of essays, but I was hoping that it would be a door opener for my memoir. That
Okay.
would have.
Yeah, that would be and just tell them, hey, I'm writing a memoir and I'm going to be publishing it 2 years from now, whatever. Would you like some excerpts to put in your lifestyle magazine? Because your readers may be interested in this. Particularly readers in that area.
Yeah, I would think so too. The New England Review is just totally not what I thought it would be. And I bought one of those reviews, and it might fit there, but just it's all over the world, and it's very millennial. I don't know, like without predicates and subjects and things like that. That's not my style. And I assume the readership wouldn't be the same either.
Right,
For
right.
for
Um,
my style. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know if AARP would, pick
Yeah,
up something like that.
yeah. They're
Uh,
very difficult to even contact, but
Because yeah, every page costs so much there. But I would find a lifestyle magazine that
yeah.
handles New England and not just one that's right there, but maybe a little broader.
Mhm.
Tourism magazines. Um, yeah,
Well, thank you. That's given me some ideas. Thank you, Joni.
you're welcome. So anyone else have any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to tell you that I enjoyed your presentation and it was very informative and very, very interesting. And I learned from it.
Thank you, Mark.
I've been writing since oh 1960, I guess. And I've one of my books, we were doing self-publishing back then, sold over 250,000 copies. And you know, it was a good thing. And I've written a lot since then, but I don't know how to sell anything. I just give it away. And I guess that's once you start doing that, you're stuck. You know, you can't you can't change trains in the middle of a trip. And but anyway, I, I enjoy writing and I do a lot of it. I put it on LinkedIn mostly and any it's something that I do not for money, but because well, I guess it's because I have to.
What are you
I
writing about? What are your topics?
oh I have over 100 essays on LinkedIn, and I write about all different topics.
Okay, are most of them lifestyle or how to or what what
Pardon?
what are the general
Oh,
themes of them?
there. Well, I'm a marine biologist, and so and I was the very first person that I know in in the world to be able to propagate marine tropical fish, and that went pretty good. Uh, now now it's all over the place, but I've written about that, and uh, I have problems with religion, and I write on some of the difficulties that people have accepting religious beliefs. And as a scientist, that's not an unusual situation, and it's very controversial, but it's real. And I write about that a little bit, and there's not much market for that. And I write about a lot of science things, and
Well,
it's
the science things I think are very newsworthy now because you have people very concerned about global warming, about pollution, and I think hearing from a marine biologist gives you much more credibility than the guy on the street who just happens to live on the beach and see the sargassum, stuff come in.
yeah,
You know it
yeah,
better about what it does. It's beneficial out there, but not so much on shore, but we can do it. That's the kind of thing people don't know is this isn't just seaweed, but it can be used to feed animals. That's the kind of stuff that other people see it. Oh, it's kind of a pest. I don't know
yeah,
what to do with it.
yeah.
But
Oh,
you
there's
know that.
a whole history of sargassum weed and what it does and where it is and how it grows and animals that live within it. It's actually an aquatic ecosystem that
Okay, why don't you pitch that article to your local magazine? Because you have people that are on the beach going, oh man, this stuff's in again. How useless is it? It smells bad. And your article
yeah.
says, but this.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I may follow up on that at some point, but right now I'm in the middle of writing a book on colonization of Mars. And I think that's kind of very, very interesting and very much fun to write. So I don't
Yeah.
know where it'll go or if it'll go, but I've got about 6 books in the same situation.
Have
And
you read
it's
Ben
awfully
Bova's?
difficult to finish one. You get one
Have,
halfway done, and then you're starting on another one.
yeah. Have you read Ben
That's
Bova's
difficult.
books?
Pardon?
Have you read books by Ben Bova?
No.
He was one of the people that started the Vanguard project, and NASA came out of that.
Okay. Yeah.
He
Yeah,
lives over,
there's a lot of information out there now.
yeah,
And it's
he
kind of
lives
fun to
down
do.
in Naples, and he's written a book on Mars that was really good.
Uh, I I I have a problem with my computer, and I won't go into all the details, but right now I can't get a very loud uh, response from it. So uh, it's 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 hard to hear it, is what I'm saying.
This guy,
But what was that name?
Ben Bova.
Ben Bova. Oh yeah. Bova. Okay.
Yep, he has won science awards and science fiction awards.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Very,
most of my writing that's published has been on marine biology or marine things. Uh, and yeah, they've done pretty well. The one from uh, well, I don't want to go into a big long story, but I wrote a book and it was very well accepted, and I wound up selling it to for not very much at all to another publisher or a publisher. Um,
Martin, you've won awards too, haven't you?
yeah, this was the Marine Aquarium Handbook. Can you see it? Oh yeah,
yeah, nice.
yeah, and it's the um, it's touted as the best-selling aquarium book of all time.
Nice.
They put that on there. Uh, and but the only problem is that I don't get paid for anything on it. Now. So but it's an old book. It was
Is it,
first published in
is it still in print?
1970.
Is it still in print?
1972. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. They evidently sell a lot of them.
What?
But when I sold it to them in around 2012, something like that, I just wanted the book to stay out there. I didn't, so I didn't charge them to give them the copyright for it. So now it's still widely available, and at least it's out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the reason I don't like the idea of selling your rights, because
Oh
there's
yeah,
somebody still making money on it, and it's not you.
yeah. Oh yeah. I think they're still doing fairly well on it, although the field has changed drastically in the last 40 years. And but it's uh, still selling. So I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do have to do more effort and now in trying to find people to publish what I've done in the past. So
Well, look to the organizations where marine biologists, I mean, is there a professional organization?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Do they have a magazine or a newsletter?
Oh yeah. Yeah. In fact, this is one of the most popular magazines in that. It's uh, it's Coral magazine, and I've got an article in this one right here.
Did
Now,
they pay you?
pardon?
Did they pay you?
No, no. Oh yeah, this is
Martin,
this is the article. Uh,
why are you giving it away?
well, what I did, I was the first one in the world actually to be able to develop the technologies for uh, the spawning and rearing of marine tropical fish. And I did one when I had a company in the Keys for one time that worked on that. And it was difficult because um, it it the timing was off on it a little bit, but it had to be uh, in that when we first started it out, there was a big business all throughout the world on marine tropical fish for aquariums. And if if you were a dealer or a collector of marine tropical fish, you could go out and in a day you could collect 50 angelfish and sell them during the week and then go out the next time and do that. But if you were uh, someone who bred marine tropical fish, you had to do that for 6 months of taking care of the fish and growing it up and selling it. And there was no way at that time that you could make enough money uh, rearing marine tropical fish rather than going out and catching them and selling them.
Okay.
And so it was it it's a long story, and I think you'd find it interesting if I wrote it up. But anyway, uh, it didn't work. I wound up selling the company and going to the Bahamas and building something out there for uh, a millionaire guy who owned an island out there, and he wanted to do the marine. That was uh, I forget his name now. When you get to be 88, and I will be soon, there's certain things that you start to lose out on, and one of them is memory to a certain extent. You have to remember what your name is and where you are and where you're going and what you're going to do when you get there. And then you got to figure out how you're going to get home. And, and it's not that bad. I just made that a little worse than it is. But that isn't aging is something that hopefully everybody will experience.
Yes.
But
Well, Martin, my recommendation is that you demystify some of the things that are going on in the ocean to local readers, like
yeah,
the red tide or the big islands of sea grass that come in. Tell them what's really going on and why it happens, how to look for it, why is it dangerous. I mean, you can demystify that for people because I guarantee the staff on the local newspaper does not have that expertise.
oh yeah, yeah. I guess I could. Um,
And if you're going to sell it to your local newspaper, why don't you look at all the other newspapers up and down the coast?
Yeah, I could. This was a book I wrote. It was not a book, it was a scientific paper that I did. I was the uh, uh, head marine biologist with the state back in the 60s. and this is a survey of offshore fishing in Florida. And it's a scientific publication. And every coastal every coastal business committee, all of the anyway, it's a whole, and then this is the other one that I wrote. This was going to be a doctoral dissertation, but I wound up rearing marine fish instead. But it's the biology of the red grouper, the whole everything, everything about the development of the and this was in 1969 when it came out, and but the whole thing, all about well, oh yeah,
Okay.
it was one of the first really in-depth scientific papers on red grouper, and so there's a lot of basic information that I have on all the marine stuff.
Well, look at the popularity of fishing magazines.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm sure you could write articles for them on how to catch or where they breed or where they summer. I mean,
Yeah.
you know more about them than the fisherman does, and they want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I started a new kind of thing. I don't know exactly where it is now, but oh, well, back in oh yeah, 1994, I started writing articles for uh, fishing magazines, and what it was the life history of the different fishes, uh, and it was where you followed them from the egg all the way through their life from the standpoint of the animal, of the fish itself. Yeah, you give it a name and you go out for its whole life history. And I joined the outdoor writers group for Florida. I was only on there 3 times. I was only on there 3 years, but I won 2 first places on it. On the articles that I wrote for them on that basis, and it was first place 2 years in a row with different articles. One on lobster and the other on black grouper. So
Well, this
that
sounds
was
like
an interesting time too. I
this
still
sounds
have
like
those
a
magazines
niche for
around
you.
somewhere.
Yeah, this sounds like a very profitable niche for you, and the news is still out there. People need to know how these things work, where they are,
Oh
and you
yeah,
have expertise.
yeah.
Why not
Yeah, I
tell
thought
people?
that approach was really good because it took you right through the life history of that species. And when you were done, the reason I did it was to be able to present something that was um, yeah. This is another book that I wrote on lobsters, uh, of the Florida lobsters. And that was where I started on that bit through uh, the natural history, the life cycle of the lobsters, and it was a heck of a book. Uh, that was one that we published ourselves back in, when was it? Yeah, 1991 was when I did that one.
Is
And
it still in publication?
pardon?
Is it still in publication?
No, no.
Why not?
There's a long story there, but actually you can still buy it it's available. You can go to Amazon, and
Okay.
they yeah, happy to send you a used copy. So the used book, it's a lot different than a hamburger, because when you buy a hamburger, pretty soon you don't have it anymore. But if you buy a book, and then you've got it. And if you don't want to keep it, you can give it away or you can sell it away. And somehow or another, all of these books get trickled into uh, the business, and all these different companies buy them and sell them. And the author gets nothing for it. You can't once it's sold out there, it's the book itself as an object and not a concept. It can get sold back and forth and around and away. And so
Yeah.
you've got books that uh, you can.
Martin, let's see if somebody else has a question for Joni.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, go ahead.
this
I
has
can
been
get carried
very
away with it a
interesting.
little
And I
bit.
think what she's telling you is you still have wonderful things that you can sell. So don't be selling yourself short. Make a little money for I realize you're retired now, but
Yeah.
make a little money and spend it on yourself for something that's really important to you, or go someplace and travel with it. And then I think you have just so much in your life that you can write about, but don't sell yourself short. Find
Well,
ways to make money, not that you need it, but you deserve it.
yeah.
I guess I wanted to ask Joni. Um, I am a caregiver for my husband who has dementia, and I wrote a book of poems about dementia. But I put together a presentation saying, weaving that in a narrative of doing the best I can, a caregiver's journey through dementia. And I've given it a couple of times, but I'm looking for places probably to do essays about this. And I don't know that the Alzheimer's Association has a magazine, but I don't know if there are any other lifestyle magazines that deal with, current health issues. I'm sure there's caregivers all over the country that are. Um, so are you saying that Writer's Digest gives you not only a topic, but where those topics can be placed or not? That was a little
Yes.
confusing for me.
Yeah, the library also has a directory of all the magazines, all the publications in the country.
Oh,
They have one, and then there's one that you can order through Amazon, and it's called the Writer's Market.
okay, I have seen that.
And that's updated every year. And I would get your library to buy it, because after a year it's out of date and you need a new one. But if your library buys it every year, then a lot of people can use it. But in there it will list how often the magazine is published, where it's published, who its readership is. It'll give you a little bit about the demographic, and then it will give you a link. You can probably find this online too, once you know the name of the magazine. And look for their writer's guidelines.
Right.
And under the writer's guidelines, it will tell you if you're going to do something for the Christmas edition, it has to be in October. If you're going to do something for Easter, it has to be in January.
Right.
What they pay, how to send it, whether or not they pay for photos, that sort of thing, and what their deadline is. And then when you query them, when you send a letter saying, hey, I have this 1,200 word article on such and such, or I have selected poems on what it's like to be in this situation. Would you be interested? Here's a sample. And, who you think the readership would be for that. And once you pick out a couple magazines, look for the one that pays the best and go to that one first. And then make sure that they don't buy all rights. And then you can sell it to the next magazine and the next magazine. That's why you want to make a list of all the magazines where you could put this, and then keep track of, you sent this poem to that one,
Right.
back on this date. You got to kind of keep a chart of all that and how much they pay. And then while one of them is being published, between when it's accepted and when you get the rights back, you need to start pitching another one. Don't wait until the rights revert back and then start pitching, because then you've got this downtime.
Yeah. Well,
And
like Martin, I'm 88, but I'm still sending things out. And it's really more for validation than, I think I've been paid $5 for a poem, but at our age, I think just sharing what you're going through is just, it makes you feel good, and that you're reaching somebody else. And I guess I've done several books on other aspects of health, and from people that notes saying this helped me through whatever.
exactly.
It's a good feeling in your life. If you're not selling thousands and thousands of books, but you're reaching the people that need to read it.
Yeah,
so that's important.
So I would look at lifestyle magazines, health magazines, Women's Day, Southern Living. I would look at all of those that deal with real life and not just all the happy news, but, the real nitty-gritty of how you keep going. I mean, basically, you're parenting a loved one. A lot of people my age are caught between raising kids and taking care of their parents.
Yeah.
And that's something a lot of people can identify with. So I think there's a readership out there. It's just a matter of finding out who publishes poems and essays about that and how much they pay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. This has been readership.
Yeah, this has been very helpful. Does anybody else have questions for? Go ahead, Jeannie.
First of all, I'd like to thank you so much. I've truly enjoyed your presentation and the knowledge you've given to us. The recording on this, where do I go to replay it? And this is being recorded, right?
It is. And Lee and Eric will go ahead, Lee. You're more knowledgeable than I about this.
Eric will put it up on the membership page of the website.
Great. Okay.
And make sure you get the handout and go through that list on page 10 of all the niche, all the areas that you can write about. Because,
yes.
As an artist, I think you would have a lot of overlap with a lot of different areas.
Yes, I appreciate the whole presentation. I really do.
Well, Ginny's had some extraordinary moments in her life too that will make wonderful, wonderful articles. I know she wants to put them together in a book, but there may be a way to do both. And she's a very talented writer.
Mm.
Yes, a lot of people are marketing their books by having excerpts sampled ahead of time. And that's a good way to get more readers involved and, have a newsletter sign up, or make sure your website or your Facebook page or whatever it is where readers can connect with you can stay in touch.
Thank
So you want to build up that readership before the product comes out. So yeah, a lot of magazines will sample upcoming work.
Great.
If we're
Anybody
done,
else?
I'll stop the recording.